Good morning everyone and welcome back to the channel. It is finally here, planting season 2021, and if you cannot tell by the look on my face, I'm pretty pumped. Today will be the first day that we put seeds in the ground on our farm, but there are a few farmers in the county that have already started planting within the last few days. Like I said in the last video, once the first person gets their planter out in the field, everyone else is rearing to go. Today and tomorrow the highs are 80 degrees Fahrenheit. If that's not motivation enough to put the hammer down, I don't know what is. If you enjoy planting season as much as I do, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss out on any of this fun action. We've got to go check in on a few things, get some seed, load the planters, and we're going to hit the fields. While I was enjoying a large amount of food and family time yesterday on Easter, two of our field cultivators hit the field here on some bean stubble. We got about 200 acres worked, give or take, to get a little bit ahead of the corn planter. The ground is almost in perfect condition, but we did already run into our first snafu of the year. One of our 946 broke down in the middle of the field out here. I guess it's a good thing that we started early yesterday to give our field cultivators a little bit of leeway ahead of the ExactEmerge high-speed planter. We did start on Easter Sunday though, and they typically say you start on a Sunday, you break down on a Monday. This corner of our well field is usually kind of wetter. Worked up a little cloddy, plenty of moisture in there. Planter won't have any problems busting through that, leaving a nice seed bed. We're not entirely sure what's ailing this tractor right now. It threw up a stop and depowered out in the middle of the field. I came out later and checked it. The only code I could find that would cause it to actually stop and power down like that was an axle lube code. And there is a little bit of a hydraulic oil and dirt buildup in the back. I don't know if that's what caused it. We're gonna have to have a qualified deer mechanic come look at it because you can't run any kind of real diagnostics unless you have their software, which is why people want the right to repair. Hook up to my seed tender and then we can get some seed. Hopefully it'll start. Doing a little early morning seed tender staging. Gonna air up the tires, untarp the cart, and go get some seed from Pioneer. Give her something to drink, that way she lasts for a couple days. Making a quick stop here over at the seed shed. We need to get some talc for the soybeans, which we haven't gotten yet. And we're gonna help the boss relocate this backhoe conveyor, head it out that way, so we can load the seed tenders with this seed straight out of the barn without having to use the fold out part of the conveyor. Little seed lubricant. Talc is secured, should run us for a while. We've got the conveyor set up. Now Dad can load corn with ease. It goes from a 3-man job to a 1-man job, maybe 2. Let's go hit the road. Northbound to pick up some seed beans. Bruce is out planting corn already this morning. That's who we're picking up this Pioneer seed from. This is the first and probably the last time I drive down this rock road. It's a straight shot from our farm to get to this Pioneer dealership, but the bottom of my conveyor gets filled with rocks. When I get here, I'm probably gonna have to run it to make sure it's empty. Those rocks don't plug anything up, but they will sit in the row units and probably disturb it a little bit. Here's our destination. Seed time. The soybean we're picking up today is a 31 A95 Extend soybean from Pioneer. We planted this last year for the first time and it was pretty good. He doesn't have these beans in the bulk tanks out back. He's actually got them pre-treated in boxes, so he's just gonna pull up here with the forklift. It sits tall enough that he can roll over the top here and dump straight in. First class service, Wes.
Yeah.
The windows on the seed tender are already stained from seed treatment for the last few years. I told you there'd be a rock or two in there. Their forklift's a little nicer than ours. And by a little, I mean a lot. When I talk about his bulk storage and his treater, these 4 tanks have 4 different varieties of soybeans in them, untreated. They go up through the conveyor, come down the funnel, and run through this treater here. They put different types of seed treatment, insecticide, fungicide, and some inoculants. Run them out and load them there. The ones that aren't in bulk have been pre-treated. And what's not beans out here is corn. For the most part, these pro boxes are corn. Bruce has a pretty nice outfit here. The only downside to picking these up straight out of the Pro Boxes versus out of the treater is out of the treater we can say we want just 105 units, whereas out of the Pro Boxes we want 105 units, but there's 45 units per box. So there's really no way to get what we need without getting 135 units of soybeans. What we can do here is wash our scales. Wes will pay attention up there to the slide on the Pro Box, and we'll put the perfect amount of seed, which in this case, there's about 43 pounds a unit, so we're putting 655 pounds of soybeans in here. And that should give us 105 units. That's good. That was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Then we're going to throw in a couple loose bags of a 3-1 soybean. That way if we don't have enough beans, we don't have to bring the seed tender back out. We can just top it off with the bags in the truck. We're going to take 5 bags with us. We already loaded 2. I'm extremely impressed with the 10-speed in this truck. Smooth as glass. The seed tender's not fully loaded, but it's pulling like a breeze. Although I could load it like this for the sake of my knees and not having to exert myself climbing up and down that high, I'm going to lower the planter back in down, and then we'll throw the seed tender up there and fill those tanks completely full. All right, everyone, it's game time. Just pulled into the field, unfold the planter, make sure everything's good to go, and we'll start planting. Flip over to plant mode, turn on our front wheel assist, put her down. Should be priming the seed right now. Lock our vacuums in. Vacuums are spooling up. All that's left is to prime the row units. This button spins the plates around. You probably can't see, but the seeds are shooting out the bottom. We'll give it one more press for good measure, and we're going to take off. It appears that everything's running smoothly. We're playing a little light on the population. We've got 160 as our target. We're playing 153, so I may have to bump up our population a bit. Maybe even play with our vacuum settings. We want to double check our seed depth, make sure we're in the moisture. Still a little wet out here. They never seem to be where you dig. What in the world? There they are. Ooh. That's pretty deep. Looks like we're over 2 inches deep. We're gonna back those way out of the ground. The seed's about right here, 2 1/4. Looking for 1 1/2, but we really just want them in the moisture, and there's moisture all the way up, probably at least 1 inch down. So I'm gonna back them out of the ground. Soybeans definitely need to be in moisture. They take a lot to germinate. We do have some rains coming up in the forecast, so it's not that big of a deal, but I'd rather put them shallower and not put them so deep in that mud. We'll back them out of the ground about 3 notches. Should put us in the money zone. Having your seed at the right depth is crucial to getting good germination and the seed not having too much of a challenge overcoming that top crust of soil. Also equally important is not hitting your neighbor's brand new cattle fence. So wish me luck. We've got about 3/8 of a mile. If we make it that far, should be good for the rest of the season. We're gonna bump our population up to 163. It's hard to tell for sure how much we're planting. Just because it says it's planting 155, 156,000 plants doesn't necessarily mean that's the case. We really will be able to tell when we get to the end of this field how many units we use versus how many we're expecting to use. This fence row is where that RTK mapping comes in pretty handy. Haven't had to steer yet. And I haven't hit the fence. Although I'm getting kind of close. I'm planting beans in this field. We got a field cultivator across the road, finishing up that. Dad's in the exact emerge across the road in the same field. And then we have another field cultivator off there to the south. We've got a lot of green and yellow in the same vicinity. I'm gonna wrap up these inrows and then we're gonna get a little eagle eye vision. Are you even really a farmer if you're not playing into the ditch a little bit? We gotta make sure every single speck of dirt has a seed next to it. It wouldn't hurt to do one last seed depth check. We should probably also check and make sure that our row shutoffs are calibrated as well. Wouldn't want to plant the whole farm and have that mess up. All right, I'm feeling lucky. We're gonna get a seed right here. Nope, nothing yet. You can see it sitting right in the moisture. Perfect. I'd put it about 1.5 inches in the ground, maybe 1 3/4 inches. It's still a tiny bit deep for my taste. I may back them out of the ground a bit more. I'm running all of the rows at 3 and 3 except for the full rows directly behind the tires. they get a little extra rate on them, so we're gonna run them on 3 and 2, just a tad bit deeper. Man, he is cooking over there. He's gonna be finished with that field before I even have the ends done on this. Must be nice to be the boss. As I'm sure you could tell, Nutrient Sprayer was about on my heels, and at one point I had to let him pass. He is spraying our burn down and residual product on our corn stalks. This year we are trying out a new product by BASF. It is called Sharpen Pro. It's not really that new by any means. A lot of people in the area have used it and had a lot of good things to say about it, so we're adding it to our herbicide program, hoping it helps control the water hemp a little bit more. Sharpen Pro has 3 modes of action to help control weeds and offer residual protection out in the field. For the sake of not giving you guys a headache and for me not having to repeat these words 1,000 times to pronounce them right, I'm just going to use their trade names and not their actual chemical names. The burn down portion, or what you need to apply on this no-till ground to kill off all the weeds that are out there immediately, is Sharpen. Sharpen is a group 14 herbicide. It's a PPO inhibitor. The beauty of Sharpen versus a standard 2,4-D or other product is that there is no plant back. We can plant our soybeans immediately into the ground after the product's been applied. Back in the day, farmers used a burn down product like 2,4-D, and there's actually a 30-day labeled plant back. So if we sprayed generic 2,4-D out here, we would theoretically have to wait 30 days to plant our soybeans. With Sharpen, we get very quick weed control. It kills the weeds within a couple days, and then we can also plant our soybeans immediately. As long as the beans are not out of the ground, you're good to go. The other 2 components of Zidua Pro are what provide that long-lasting residual protection against weeds. These residuals are so important because the easiest time to kill a weed is when it's very young. Water hemp is one of our troublesome weeds, and if you let that thing get over 4 to 5 inches, there's very few herbicides that'll kill it. That is why you need to have a product down that helps kill those plants the minute they come out of the ground. It's not 100% effective, but it will buy us time until we can get out in the field and put that second herbicide pass down and hopefully smoke all those weeds that remain. The tag team duo of BASF's flagship residual program is Zidua, a Group 15 herbicide. It is a long chain fatty acid inhibitor, and then Pursuit, a Group 2 herbicide, which is an ALS inhibitor. Those two combined are fantastic at limiting the growth of small weeds and not negatively affecting our soybeans significantly. So our soybeans shoot out of the ground with no problem, and anything else struggles to overcome that chemical layer on top. The ingredients, Sharpen and Zidua, are basically some of BASF's flagship herbicide products. I'm fairly certain that both of those herbicides are patented, so there's no generic equivalents. You do have to pay a little bit of a premium to apply these to your field. I think it's worth the money. If you skimp out on weed control, you will regret it. They do offer a product without the Sharpen or the burn down component. It's just Zidua SC. This is something you'd use if you're running a field cultivator ahead of your soybean planter. We're going to be using the burn down for the most part because I'm doing a lot of no-tilling in the spring. We need to control those winter annuals that come up and stop any early growing competitive weeds. From what I can tell, I'm confident to say that I would highly recommend that if you've not tried it on your farm and you have some water hemp pressure or other troublesome weeds, you may give it a shot. I think it's going to do a good job for us this year. Something else I guess I should add, the Zidua actually needs a rain for it to be fully activated. It'll just kind of lay on top, encapsulated in a way, and then once it gets a half-inch to an inch rain, it'll fully activate, soak into that top layer of the ground, and provide us the protection we need. This can be your best friend or your worst enemy, depending on the year. If you thought the quiz at the end of today's video was already hard enough, I got another one coming for you. This season is going to be our most hectic season for me and the soybean planter, keeping track of our varieties, and for our sprayers come second pass spray time to make sure they don't apply the wrong product to our soybeans. The reason being, we are planning 3 different herbicide technologies this year. This year we are planting some straight Xtend soybeans, which are dicamba and Roundup tolerant. These 31A95s I'm planting right here in this field are that type of bean. We're planting Xtend Flex soybeans, which are dicamba, Roundup, and Liberty tolerant. And last but not least, we're going to be planting Enlist or E3 soybeans. These are tolerant to a 2,4-D type product, Liberty, and Roundup. The Xtend and Xtend Flex soybeans seem like they'd be relatively similar products, and they are, as their name indicates, but since one has that added Liberty tolerance, if you mix those two together in your planter and out in the field, you're basically chopping your legs off, so to speak, in terms of herbicide mobility come spraying time. Some of you may be kind of familiar with dicamba and the gremlins that have come along with it over the last few years. It drifts very badly, volatilizes in the air, and moves off target, even if the spray operator does a great job applying it. This has led a lot of people to shy away from applying it, but the Xtend genetic lineup of soybeans is so good. Our highest yielding soybeans we've ever produced on our farm were Xtend. The Xtend Flex is supposed to bring you the best of both worlds by offering you those great genetics, the opportunity to apply dicamba if you'd like to, with the added flexibility to apply Liberty if you have any issues come spray time or you don't want to use dicamba at all. If you apply dicamba on Enlist soybeans, you will kill them. If you apply the Enlist 2,4-D product on Xtend dicamba tolerant soybeans, you'll kill them as well. That's why we have to be very careful in between fields, clean out the planter, and do a good job. What that really means is that you almost have to have a surgical level of precision when you switch in between 2 fields that do not have the same herbicide technology. This next field we're going to is an Xtend Flex soybean. This is a straight Xtend soybean. So once we're done, we're gonna have to empty the tanks out and make sure our row units are almost completely empty. That way we don't plant a bunch of them over there. We don't wanna kill off our plant population out in the field come herbicide time. Okay, I hope you're taking notes. This quiz may be kind of hard, so we might let it be open book. My favorite part about the Xtend and the Enlist platforms is the amount of competition it's added to the seed industry. The 2 controlling factors, so to speak, are Corteva Agrisciences and Bayer. They are pretty much the big dogs in the seed industry, and to have competing products I think is good for us as farmers to help push for better technology and better results on our farm. For the longest time, Bayer, formerly Monsanto, who they bought out, pretty much dominated the soybean herbicide technology market. They were the ones who offered Roundup soybeans, and they were the ones who offered Xtend soybeans. Those had the lion's share of the market in their time. I'm hoping that in the future we'll have great technologies due to all this competitiveness. We've got a very special passenger. Liddy's here for his first tractor ride. And Alex, she brought him. He doesn't look too thrilled to be here. Odds he falls asleep soon. He even brought his corn with him. He only took 1 round and he's asleep. A true young farmer. We've only got 1 through left and we're about out of seed. I don't know if we'll have enough to finish the job or if we'll have to top off before we leave the field. There we go. One row's out. There's a second row. All right. Chris is here to save the day. This was a lot heavier than I thought it was going to be. We split the 2 bags on both sides. We have a little bit left in here. These bags have untreated beans in them. Should be enough to do the last 3.5. We're going to be cutting it pretty close here on seed. We've only got maybe 150, 200 feet left. When we get close to the end, I'm going to pull this first hydraulic lever up. When I release that pressure, I can keep the planter down, but it being continuously pressed down is what runs the seed fan. If I shut that seed fan off, it'll basically cut off all of the seed to the row units. Then I'm going to bump my population way up. I think the highest I can go is 300,000 and try to drain the units as much as possible. Who knows though, I may run out of seed first. I'm going to bump it to 300,000. I'm going to pull it up just a hair, seed fan's off. We're going to be coming to the end here, hopefully running out. Do this till the planter's clean. We've got very few seeds left planting here. 13,000 on looks like just over a few rows. I'm gonna call it quits here when I pull out. Okay, time to cleanse these planter tanks out. It's actually a pretty quick job. Virtually nothing in here. I'm gonna do the other side real quick, won't take long. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. The seed tanks aren't spotless, but since we're only dealing with herbicides here, it's not that big of a deal if we lose a plant or 2, especially when they're young. If we were doing seed beans, which needs like pristine level quality of seed, we would have to make sure there's literally nothing in here. But for our purposes, having 99.9% gone is enough. Some simplex soybeans in here. We've got 120 units on the tender. I have 2 farms that are going to plant. This should be enough soybeans to finish them off. These are 37 XF1 Asgrow simplex soybeans. This seed tender should last me for the end of the night. Soybean tanks are full. I don't know why I'm still wearing a sweatshirt. We're getting close to 80 degrees. My shirt underneath this is pretty damp. Let's go plant some more beans. The boss is about to finish up his cornfield. We got 2 field cultivators running across the road, and I'm headed to these corn stalks right here. And my planter is beeping at me, which is tradition. A lot of dust flying today, folks. All right, we just set up shop in the new field. We're planting our first in row. We lowered our population down to 160,000. We did some post math on the last field. We were about 3% too high. When you account for the 110 units we used in the field, that came out to 3% higher of a population than we were wanting. Like I said, these numbers aren't anything to rely on super accurately. They give us a good guideline, but you need to do some double checking at the end. This field is a little lighter dirt than where we just came from, has more of a sandier subsoil. Usually it's the first field we plant every year. Everything else just happened to get ready at the same time. We'll have to check the depth on this field again because there may not be as much moisture out here. See what we got here? There, we found one right there. About 1 inch to 1.5 inches deep. We'll check one more, and if it's in the same area, we'll just leave it. There is moisture, and as long as there's moisture, you're good. I think I'm gonna put them in 1 notch deeper, then we're gonna go. We're not gonna double check it. Should be perfect. You really couldn't get a more perfect day to plant. 80 degrees outside, a slight breeze. Man, I love spring. A very common question or comment that I get on my videos is, why do you guys not have your own sprayer and do your own spraying? And that's a very reasonable thing to ask. A lot of operations do have their own sprayers and take care of all of their own herbicide work. For us, there are 2 considerations. One being financial and the second one being logistical. Having a sprayer is definitely somewhere where you can shave a few dollars off your cost of production. At the end of the day though, it's really not saving you that much money, especially when your custom sprayer application is at a very reasonable cost. Then you factor in the convenience and added expense of having more employees to operate a sprayer, because right now we've got all of our employees dedicated to a tractor, but we'd need a sprayer operator and a tanker driver. That would add a whole nother set of headaches to our operation to only save a measly amount of money. I'm not saying it's wrong by any means though to have a sprayer. You can save money, and if you're willing to work very hard at it, it can be a very good thing to have on your farm. It just doesn't fit into our operation at the current moment. Maybe if we gain some ground or have something else change in terms of employment, it might be something we consider. For now though, we're just gonna keep having it custom applied. How nice is it though to just be able to ring up your retailer and give them a list of farms that are ready to spray. You don't have to worry about mixing chemical, filling the sprayer, and spraying. We just get to focus on working the ground, filling the planters, and planting the seed. We finished up another field, and Dad's finished up like 3 fields since we started this one. We're gonna go top off our seed tank and then go over to another field out west. Absolutely fantastic day outside. Kicking up a lot of dust. I think it's going to see my new seed loading spot. Get fuel and seed at the same time. First time I've been back in my truck since this morning. Gotta move it so we can get the seed tender. I'm gonna run over one of my row units. Also got my turn light view. I'm trying to decide which side needs more. It's hard to tell from up here. It's easier to tell from down below. I think it's this side. We got 1,100-ish pounds on the seed tender. I'm gonna do probably 450 and 650 on each side. So I'm gonna do 650 on this side, 450 on this side. The field cultivators got far enough ahead of the corn planter that they had some time to go work in some of our corn stalks that were hit with the ripper and not the vertical till. So they're getting more ground ready for me. I think in the next 2 or 3 days, we'll probably have 65 to 70% of our beans planted. Moving at a pretty good clip today. There's only a select few times during the day that it's really inconvenient to take a tractor down the road, and I picked one of them, 5 o'clock. I've already met an unfun amount of cars and had to let cars pass me. Not my favorite part of farming, but you gotta get from point A to point B. At least we don't have to clean the planter out for this field. There's really not a soul inside out here planting. I see a few anhydrous bars running. We must just be a little ahead of schedule. Speaking of traffic in the way, geez, I can't really complain. This isn't our lane. It's a long tank of anhydrous. The largest chunk of the field is here on the west side. There's a little like 4 or 5 acre patch to the east. I'm already folded up right now, so I'm just gonna zip over across the little ditch, plant that, and then come back. We'll start on this, and they'll probably end the night for us. Not too much water running. Just enough to clean the tires off. Here's a little patch we're working on. Oh, that's not what you want to see. Okay. 9-pin connector voltage not detected. Check pins 1 and 3. Well, it says it planted right there. On top of that, we have one other problem. I can't find my depth gauge. What did I do with that? There? No. No. What is beeping at me? I guess we're going old school. Man, it is perfect over here. Why aren't people planting? 1.5 inches maybe? 1.25 inches. It is planting, so I don't know why it's telling me it doesn't have electrical power. Thank goodness this is not an electrical drive planter. Where do you even begin to start diagnosing this? Literally have no clue. The 9-pin could have gotten some dust in it. I hate to take it apart. I don't have any electrical contact cleaner. I need to unplug the 7-pin to get to it. I mean, nothing looks inherently wrong with it. I don't know. Beats me what's wrong with it. I cleaned everything off. It says it's planting. It just says there's not electrical power to the planter. I'm going to plant down to the end, double check and make sure it's planting. If it's not resolved by then, I'm just gonna keep going. Worry about it some other day. I cycled the power too, maybe that'll fix it. Worked on the other planter. Holy moly, I about backed into a crater. Jeez. Electrical wouldn't be our only problems if I would've done that. It hasn't said anything, so we'll just not talk about it anymore. Maybe it won't happen. Could've just got some dust in the connector. All right, we're gonna do one last seat check. I think we're good to go. Oh, that's just a powder out here. It'll help if I can find one. Sometimes they're a little elusive. I'd say probably 1.75 inches. I really don't want it in the ground that deep. We got warm weather, it's in the moisture. Yeah, those are way in there. If you look down the seed trench, you hit moisture maybe 3/4 of an inch deep, and this seed is 1.75 inches deep. I think we got a little too deep. We got plenty of moisture down there, so we're gonna back it out of the ground just 1 notch, call it good, and we're gonna plant the rest of this farm. This farm is one of our lighter pieces. It's got a roll to it, doesn't look a lot like the rest of our farm ground. Surprisingly though, it's usually one of our best yielding in both corn and soybeans. I don't know if it's the roll that makes it so productive when we have a wet year. I'm sure a dry year is a completely different case. Last year in corn, it was one of our top 3 fields. I think it was 240 bushel, maybe 250, somewhere in that range. Don't quote me on those numbers. That was pretty good for last year. All right, last one. I wonder if my probe misses me too. Probably in the tractor somewhere. Oh man. Crisis is burning. Now it's kind of dull, but that could have really hurt a tire. I don't know if that was sharp enough to do anything. Bring it to my dogs, I love it. These are a nice little treat to find. They're not a nice little treat to find in your tire. Part of me would like to brag that it took me longer to unfold and fold than it did to plant that field. I stopped like 10 times though for numerous different reasons. Sometimes things don't go as quickly as you plan. Everyone put your hands up. Woo! Splash. Oh no, I see hydraulic oil. What have we gotten ourselves into now? It can't be broken if you never check it. It's damp, but I can't tell where it's coming from. Oh, I'm such an idiot. That's not hydraulic oil, I literally just went through water. Man, whew, I think I'm a blonde sometimes. I was very concerned. I was like, what else could be going wrong? Got some water on the tractor. Oh my gosh, call John Deere. Our player's got water on it. They can't handle it. Zip-a-doo. All right, starting on the big field. Oh, need more horses. No, I think we got it actually. Oh, we're regenning. That makes sense. We don't need more horses, we just need to stop wasting them. Let's see how accurate our RTK line is. Bam! Look at that. If you didn't hit the corner post or even try it, I've never looked, but I'm willing to bet that there's not any paint left on the bottom of that side of the planter. I've run over so many corner posts. I'm not bragging, I just like to plant close. No one likes weeds on the property line. In the next episode of Interesting Things We Find in the Field, an ear saver off of a corn head. This sits outside the gathering chains and keeps the ears from falling out. I would have just left it, but I picked it up, so now I feel obligated to take it. First inlet of 2021. Here goes nothing. Oh, I may have messed that up. Oh! Wow, perfect. Kind of. Somewhat perfect. Oh, we got a pheasant right there. Not sure if you can see on the camera. He's not that far away, but this lens doesn't pick up distance. Look at him. Right there. Look at him run. The sun's starting to set over the hill. We're gonna need some seeds soon. Hopefully some shows up. Not much I can do out here about it. Speaking of the devil, we got the boss man driving today. Our next field of soybeans that are on the docket for tomorrow are enlist beans. These are extend flex. We can't intermingle those as I explained earlier in the video. What we're trying to avoid is having a ton of beans left in the tank. We put in what we think is a reasonable amount to finish the field. If that's not the case and we don't have enough, they're going to leave me a seed tender. I'm going to have seed and I'm also going to have a ride home because I'm going to leave the planter here for the night. Hopefully we run out right at the last minute. Not incredibly confident though. It happened after dark, so I don't think it counts. I needed a good excuse to go use the bathroom anyways. I don't have any competition tonight to play the light game with, but I can't take it any longer. These screens are blinding me. Ah, much better. Come on, team, we gotta keep our composure. We're 1 for 3 now. We're deteriorating as the night goes on. At least we won't have to worry about there not being any soybeans close enough. Ooh. There's some bright headlights. We've got about 2 acres left. I just got the low seed warning. I'm gonna hop up in the tanks here, see how much we have. Hopefully we don't have to add any more with the seed tender. We'll see when we get up here. Yeah, we're gonna need some more seed. See what we're working with on this side. A lot of seed. All right, I'm gonna move a little bit of seed over. I need to move at least 2 bags of seed, so I'm actually gonna dump the bags out the bottom, fill a couple extra bags I have, and then just haul them up there and dump them in the top. It's a little bit more brute force, but it saves me a lot of time. That's the end result. We've only got a couple more acres. It's gonna be close. This side definitely still has some more extra. We'll worry about that if we run out. Can't take you guys anywhere. We're on our last pass now. We don't have any signs of running out of seed. I'm gonna bump this population up to about 300K, see if we can empty out the units, and then we can dump the planter tomorrow and put in the enlist beans. So let's go ahead and run this population up. 300K. Right there, bam. Pull the planter off the ground. Okay, let's planter out. I love it when a plan comes together. Waiting time. Okay, we gave the tractor a couple minutes to cool down from its long, hard days of work. Lights off. Nice and dark in here again. My dogs are gonna be so hyped about this antler. I'm headed in with the truck to unhook the seed tender, and then I'm going home. It's been a very productive day. Thank you for joining us. I think we got maybe 600 acres in between both planters. That's a great start to planting season 2021. I'll see you all bright and early in the next episode. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!